The government's pandemic stimulus package has been swift and full of catchy names. There was JobKeeper, JobSeeker and JobMaker. But every great quartet has a Ringo. And there's another policy that hasn't had quite as much attention. The COVID-19 Early Release of Super Scheme. Or as they should have called it, Super Scooper.
Hundreds of thousands of casual workers in bars, restaurants and cafes have effectively just lost their jobs. How are you going to help them out?
We're giving people access to their superannuation by allowing them to take out up to $10,000 this financial year and up to $10,000 next financial year, all tax-free.
You've also relaxed access to superannuation, $10,000 tax-free.
They'll just have to make a simple declaration to the Australian Tax Office, and then the tax office will pass it on to their super fund, and that money will get into that person's bank account.
All right, so...
That's fascinating.
It is fascinating, Nat. But what was even more fascinating was just how many people took advantage of Josh Frydenberg's kind invitation to raid their super. So far, there have been more than 1.96 million applications received, many for the full first payment of 10 grand, in theory to cover them for financial hardship. But recently, a report looked into how the money was actually being spent.
Australians dipping into their superannuation during the COVID-19 crisis are reportedly spending it on non-essentials, such as gambling, alcohol and furniture.
How is furniture non-essential? I mean, where am I meant to sit while I drink and gamble? Now, if you're wondering what everyone was gambling on without sport casinos and pokies, apparently reality TV and Russian table tennis. Hot tip, never bet against Putin.
You lose.
The report looked at the transactions of 13,000 people who accessed their super under the scheme and found some of their largest spending increases were on gambling, takeaway food, alcohol and furniture. Now, before you get all judgy, during COVID, the rest of Australia was also doing more gambling, eating and drunk buying furniture, including me. I mean, I can't remember buying a single thing in this room. And as for the idea that the money was only going to help people suffering financial stress...
Thousands of Australians who withdrew their super early during the economic downturn may not actually have needed the assistance.
A survey of people who accessed their money through this scheme shows nearly half suffered no drop in their income during the COVID crisis.
Because they've made so much money gambling. The system works. While the scheme was meant for those who'd lost their jobs or 20% of their income, there was no requirement up front to prove this in your application. And clearly lots of people rorted the system. But lots of other people genuinely needed the program, and now they have a much bigger problem, which has all got to do with how super works. In the same way that money you put in super now is worth a lot more in the future, woohoo! Money you spend from super now costs you a lot more in the future too. Oh, fiddlestick! And the longer you have until you retire, the more it's going to cost you. Super Scooper, trademark, was most popular among 26 to 35-year-olds. And if a 20-something took out 2 lots of 10 grand today, they could have 100 grand less when they come to retire. Crikey! Or as one of the authors of the report put it, a coffee that you buy with your super money today could be the most expensive coffee of your life. Clearly he's never been to Perth. Oh no, don't! The problem gets even worse if you cash out at the bottom of the market. So how has the stock market been going, Tresh?
The ASX 200 is more than 32% higher from the recent low on the 23rd of March.
So the lowest point in the Aussie stock market was March 23rd. March 23rd. Why is that date so familiar? Because that was the exact day Josh Frydenberg was on Sunrise and Today telling people to cash out their super. Coincidentally, it wasn't just the lowest day for the stock market during the pandemic, but the lowest day for the ASX since 2012.
That's fascinating.
So anyone who listened to Josh has already lost thousands of dollars on top of what they withdrew. Clearly, this was an extremely costly way to ride out the Roni that should only have been used as a last resort. So who was the Treasurer pitching it to?
This is important for the sole trader or for the casual. So if you're a sole trader or you're a casual, you will be able to get early access to your superannuation.
Casual workers, most of whom are not covered by the JobKeeper program. So instead of providing casuals the same COVID safety net other workers received, the Treasurer was on breakfast TV encouraging them to make the most costly financial decision of their lives. Who knew the most expensive coffee some people ever had was the one they drank while taking financial advice from the Treasurer?